All right, welcome into the 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Rumble, breaking down the latest 49ers news and rumors. Producer Coop killing the game on the ones and twos. We have a loaded show coming your way, talking about the 49ers pre-draft visits. We're going to take a look at Todd McShay's latest NFL mock draft to see which player he has going to San Francisco in the second round at pick number 61. We're going to explore the latest 49ers news and rumors. We're going to go live at the end of the show exclusively on Rumble because I'm going to give you 10 reasons as to why I think Trey Lance can break out in 2022. And as we always do here on the 49ers Report, we interact with the Niner gang and the faithful better than any other channel out there. We are going to be doing a mailbag where I take all of your 49ers related questions. We'll get to all of that coming up in just about 10 minutes. But first, I want you to get that comment section flowing. I want to interact with the faithful. Where is the Niner gang hanging out? Let me know in the comment section. I'll give you some shout outs, a couple questions for you before we really get today's show started. So I want to peek over at the comment section as people continue to pile in after getting that notification. And if you don't have your notifications on, make sure you hit that bell icon therefore anytime we do go live or we push out a video, you will be notified. I see Jenny Silva is in the chat. Oso, Lyman Peoples, Mike Honcho, Wet Noodle 187 is in Spokane, Washington. Lyman Peoples saying, Chase Sr., aloha, bro. So I would guess that you were watching from Hawaii. Wet Noodle 187, he watches everything that we push out. He's in the hospital right now because he was in a car wreck the other day. Hope you're doing good. Mike Concho saying, what up, John Wallace? John Wallace, one of the OGs here on the 49ers Report. BK from the Bay saying, what up? In Seattle from Cody Morris, Niner Faithful on my sofa with my mom. Hello, Mom. Hello, Niner Faithful. Jason Michael, Sign Verrett, Tyrann Mathieu, draft O-line, edge, wide receiver, game over. I think this Niners roster, it's ready to compete deep into the NFC playoffs once again. Monkey D. Doge. Hello, how is your day going? My day's going great. Myself, producer Coop, all day we have been dedicated toward building this show to get it ready to go live here on the 49ers Report. Can't wait to bring you all of the latest 49ers news and rumors. Joe Caterly is back. What up, Chase? Jerome Davis, Birmingham, Alabama, Bakersfield, California, from Justin Carter. My mom said, hey, Chase. Hey, Mom, from Niner Faithful. Glenn Hanna, 49ers for life. So who are we truly looking at in the draft? We'll discuss some draft rumors coming up on today's show. I think it's going to be a combination of a couple position groups, and it could be BPA, best player available, right? Wide receiver, offensive line, defensive secondary. I think those are the areas that the Niners are going to hone in on. So I asked you where you're hanging out. My next question for the audience, had the 49ers been the most boring team in the NFL this offseason? I'd make the argument that they have been. So here at Chat Sports, we of course have our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, which is approaching 300,000 subscribers, but also we cover specific teams across the NFL. And so many teams have had so much traction and so much movement this offseason. San Francisco really hasn't had any. They didn't trade away Jimmy Garoppolo. Their big signing is Charvarius Ward, who's like a middle-tier signing. Other than that, they've been somewhat silent as compared to other teams in the NFL. So type Y for yes, they've been the most boring team, and for no, they haven't. I think a lot of people are going to side with me in saying yes. But we've still been churning out content here, and we're making that cheddar. YouTube Sucks saying yes. Adrian Pickney saying nah. Chua Lure Y for yes. Nicole and Harold Gillenwater, what it do? Typing a Y for yes. By the way, if we want to do some car bombs later, we'll do it with the $50 super chat. Let's ride. We ain't never scared. Mark saying yes. Stacy Stone saying yes as well. Oso saying no. And then no way. Charles Salmon saying why for yes. Wet Noodle 187. No, I think they're doing well enough for what we got. Look, there's a couple of ways to look at it, right? San Francisco, they were a Final Four team. They made it to the NFC Championship game second time in 3 years. We know that. So when you make it that far, that means that you don't have to make a lot of changes to the roster. But Los Angeles Rams just won a Super Bowl. They made a big splash by signing Allen Robinson. Then they signed Bobby Wagner, and the 49ers, what do they have to show for? Charvarius Ward and no trade of Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, here on YouTube, we are live. We are also live on Rumble. Shout out to everybody watching on the Rumble side of things. Appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us here on the 49ers Report. If you want to comment on Rumble, I'll give you a shout out. No question about that. But after we do a couple of segments on YouTube, we're going to be going live exclusively on Rumble, a new partner here at Chat Sports. We really appreciate them for supporting everything we do. So if you want to support everything that we do here on the 49ers Report and at Chat Sports as a whole, because our NFL draft coverage on Chat Sports is going to be litty, make sure you join us on Rumble exclusively for one segment at the end of the show. How do you do that? You plug in that link down below. It's rumble.com/49erstv. Make sure you subscribe right now. 260 subscribers on Rumble. Can we get to 300 by the end of our live show? Rumble.com/49erstv. Hit the green subscribe button, like the red subscribe button here on YouTube, and join us there for an exclusive segment on Rumble only after our live YouTube show is all wrapped up. We're also going to be doing a mailbag on today's show. A couple ways for you to get involved and for you to get your questions answered. How do you do it? Hey, we're here to provide for you. Hashtag 49ers. Better yet, super chat us. If you super chat us, $50, myself, producer Coop, we're going to be doing Irish car bombs, and maybe we'll do that on Rumble only as well, added incentive, but you have to super chat us on YouTube in order for us to do that. But hey, added incentive for us to have a lot of fun on today's show. Hashtag 49ers, super chat us. If you super chat us, I guarantee you we will answer your question during that mailbag. Hashtag 49ers, we will also chop it up with the audience. So as I was talking about, here at Chat Sports, we continue to grow like crazy. Our NFL draft coverage is the most watched draft coverage on YouTube year in and year out. And at the end of this month, the 2022 NFL Draft is coming your way, April 28th to the 30th. It takes place in Las Vegas, but we will be here at the studios of Chat Sports bringing you the best coverage on the National Football League NFL Draft. All days, all rounds, every pick, we will be live. 3 days, all 7 rounds. So make sure you subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Plug in that link in a separate browser. Hit that red subscribe button because myself, Harrison Graham, Tom Downey, Mitchell Renz, a couple of the other new faces here at Chat Sports will be live for our main Chat Sports YouTube channel coverage of the NFL Draft. Every single round, every single pick. It's going to be litty. It's going to be fun. We'll be live on YouTube as well as Rumble, so join us on one of those two platforms, breaking down every single selection. If you're ready to start today's show on Rumble, on YouTube, get into the comment section right now and type 49 to show your love for the San Francisco 49ers. We have 120 people watching live. Only 30 likes, though. Can we get to 100 likes before we start the show? Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, type 49. If you're ready to start today's show, I'll give you some shout outs here. YouTube, going with 49. Nicole and Harold Gillenwater, 49. Monkey Doge, 49. Mark, he's in the chat. So too is Adrian Pinkney. Chualor, also in the chat. Chris Maraca, I see you. OG Ray, Jonathan Lamont, BK from the Bay, Mutt Flatulence, Monkey Doge, Shane AZ, Jason Black, Wet Noodle 187, Justin Carter, Mr. Josiah, Gabriel, FVY, Angel saying sup Chase, sup. Joe Caterly typing a 49, Byron McCants 49, Jason Michael, appreciate all of the support, and more people will continue to hop on board here on the 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. Here's what we have coming your way. We're going to hit you with the latest 49ers news and rumors. I'm going to list 5 superstar trade candidates who the 49ers can go out and trade for this offseason to make really their NFL offseason a lot more exciting. We're going to be doing another mailbag. Get those questions in, hashtag 49ers or Super Chat. And at the end of today's live show, we will be going live on Rumble only. So make sure you join us on that side of things. It's rumble.com/49erstv. More shout outs. Larry Fort, Jason Michael, Glenn Hanna, Julius. We have 46 likes. Got to get to 50 before we start the show. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video if you're ready to start today's live show. And we appreciate you for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. We're up to 49 likes. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. We surpassed 50. More people are going to pile in, and let's have a party here on the 49ers Report. Without further ado, let's get today's live show started. Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of the faithful is having a fantastic week. Let's break down the latest 49ers news and rumors. And we start off with A.J. Brown. I've received this question from a lot of fans out there and a lot of subscribers of the 49ers Report. Hey, A.J. Brown, there are trade rumors surrounding the elite wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. Should the 49ers go out there and trade for A.J. Brown? Let's dissect these rumors and break it down, and I'll give you some thoughts as to why I think the 49ers will not trade for A.J. Brown, and I don't think they should trade for A.J. Brown. First, we start off with this report from Diana Russini of ESPN. She said this about A.J. Brown, who's been communicating with Jalen Hurts on Instagram, like Deebo Samuel, entering the final year of his rookie contract with that historic NFL draft class, going into the final year of that rookie deal. He's looking to get paid. Him and Deebo Samuel, it's only a matter of time before they do get paid, so that's why these trade rumors are surfacing around Deebo Samuel as well as A.J. Brown. So Diana Russini saying this about A.J. Brown. Tennessee Titans are not shopping or taking calls on A.J. Brown per sources. General Manager John Robinson made it clear at the owners' meetings they are currently working towards keeping Brown a Titan for the long term. I'm told this has not changed. So his situation, very similar to the one going on in San Francisco right now with Deebo Samuel. But never say never with crazy transactions happening in the National Football League, because over the last couple of weeks, we have witnessed the most crazy, the most chaotic, the most epic NFL offseason in the history of this great league. Russell Wilson traded to the Denver Broncos. Carson Wentz traded to the Washington Commanders. Deshaun Watson was cleared legally. He got dealt to the Cleveland Browns. Devontae Adams in a shocker sent from Green Bay to the Las Vegas Raiders to team up with his college teammate at Fresno State and quarterback Derek Carr. And Tyreek Hill was traded from the Kansas City Chiefs, leaving Patrick Mahomes, going to South Beach to team up with Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa with the Miami Dolphins. So everybody wants to get into the comment section and say, these rumors are crazy. This is clickbait. This will never happen. Any of these things to my right, we never thought they were going to happen. They happen over the span of a couple of weeks. And the fact that Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time coming out of retirement, doesn't even crack this list, it goes to show you the epic nature that this NFL offseason has presented with us. And hey, we appreciate the content. As for A.J. Brown, the player, he's been one of the best players in the National Football League at the wide receiver position since coming into the league out of Ole Miss. The production has been crazy. Now, this past year, the number's down a little bit because he was dealing with a variety of injuries, but still, with a middle-tier quarterback at Ryan Tannehill at his disposal, he still put up monster numbers. 63 catches in 2021. 869 yards, average yards per catch at 14, and 5 touchdowns. And A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel are going to get the bag, and sooner rather than later, they're going to enter the conversation being one of the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, right up there with Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen, because the NFL salary cap is only going to continue to increase, and you also have to factor this into the equation. Because of the rule changes in the NFL, because of the league catering more to the offensive side of the football and wide receivers becoming more and more important for quarterbacks out there, the salary cap numbers and the average annual value for wide receivers is also on the uptick. So Deebo Samuel and A.J. Brown will soon become one of the 5 highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League. In my opinion, they're going to enter that aforementioned category. Now, here's why I think that the 49ers shouldn't trade for A.J. Brown and why they won't trade for A.J. Brown. Because they have to pay Deebo Samuel. And if you want to bring back Deebo Samuel and make him one of the highest paid wide receivers, as one of the most dynamic offensive players that we have seen in recent memory in the NFL, you can only pay one wide receiver $20 to $30 million per year. You can't allocate that much money to two players at the same position, which is what you would have to do if you traded for A.J. Brown. So pick one between one of these players who you have to pay and pick one who is the better player, who is more impactful. I'd go with Deebo Samuel because he plays multiple positions. He can also return punts and kicks and is an absolute game breaker. I'm typing my DS for the better player in Deebo Samuel. Do you disagree with me? If you do, that's all good in the hood, G. Type AJ for A.J. Brown in the comment section. Either way, both of these players are going to get paid, but because both are going to secure the bag, you can only pay one, which is why the Niners will not go out there and trade for A.J. Brown. While you're down there getting your votes in, you see that red subscribe button? Make sure you smash that if you haven't already done so, because here on the 49ers Report, we're pushing out free daily videos covering the latest 49ers news and rumors. We have you covered during the season. We have you covered during the offseason. NFL draft, NFL free agency. We are here to serve the faithful. Let's get to 60,000 subs as soon as possible. Just hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/49erstv. NFL draft, only a couple weeks away, April 28th to the 30th in Las Vegas, so it is mock draft season. We have continued to push out draft coverage here on the 49ers Report, and we're going to continue to do so. Todd McShay of ESPN, one of their draft experts, alongside Mel Kiper Jr., did push out his latest mock draft on Tuesday. Who does he have slotted to the Niners at pick number 61 in this latest two-round mock draft? How about Nick Cross, safety out of Maryland, going to San Francisco at pick number 61. 66 tackles in 2021, 3 interceptions, and 5 pass breakups. Now, we know that San Francisco has multiple needs in that secondary. Could they cross off that need by drafting Nick Cross? Here's what Todd McShay had to say about the prospect. Welcome to the draft, San Francisco, because they don't have a first-round pick. They gave that up to trade for Trey Lance last year. With Jimmie Ward entering the final year of his deal, the Niners might look to add to the secondary here. At 6 foot, 212 pounds, Cross has great size. He has center fielder speed and plenty of versatility. Now, I did my due diligence as the host of the 49ers Report. I also love diving into these prospects during NFL draft season, and I scouted Nick Cross. Here are my takeaways for Nick Cross. He's a good athlete. He's a really physical tackler, not scared to put his nose in there and really come up to the line of scrimmage and make tackles, or sit back at that safety position and lay the wood. He has good instincts and ball skills, which is really what you need in today's pass-happy NFL because opposing quarterbacks are always looking to pick you apart in that secondary. He is a center fielder type of safety with good range from sideline to sideline, made a couple of really good plays on the football last year for the Terrapins, and he can also play special teams. So if he isn't an immediate impact player at that safety spot, he can contribute from day one with being a special teams player, kick return coverage, but also punt return coverage as well. Now, you look at his 2021 stats. This goes to show you the versatility that he has at that safety spot because he can make plays in a variety of areas in multiple spots, box safety or back deep. 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 5 pass breakups on the season for Nick Cross. And in the Big Ten, you're facing a lot of really good wide receivers, especially at Ohio State, at a program like Michigan and Penn State. So the level of competition, very good for Nick Cross at that safety spot as well. Now, Nick Cross going to the Niners and Todd McShay's latest mock draft, I want you to get into the comment section and you tell me, because I know there are a lot of draft nerds out there. So who are your favorite second-round draft targets for San Francisco in round 2? I like Jaquan Brisker. I like Jalen Petrie. You let me know a name or names in the comment section. I want to hear from you. And since we're talking about the NFL draft here on the 49ers Report, NFL draft hats for San Francisco, they're flying off the shelves like crazy. I was talking to the bosses today, and I was like, yo, how are these Niners draft hats selling as compared to other teams out there that we cover here at Chat Sports? 49ers draft hats, #1 seller under the Chat Sports umbrella. That's awesome. So if you want to get yours, you can do so. Just make sure you plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/49ers draft hats, so that Fanatics knows that the 49ers Report and that Chat Sports sent you. Let's shift now to some of the pre-draft visits, all of the pre-draft visits, at least that we know of up to this point, that San Francisco has done so far in the lead up to the NFL draft. A lot of players who they've met with, and that's good because they're doing their due diligence, trying to figure out which players that they want to hone in on for the NFL draft. Marcus Jones, cornerback out of Houston. Samori Toure, wide receiver out of Nebraska. Alex Wright, defensive end out of UAB. Troy Anderson, linebacker out of Middle Tennessee State. Michael Clemens out of Texas A&M. James Cook, running back out of Georgia. Boye Mafe, defensive end out of Minnesota. Drake Jackson, defensive end out of USC. Cam Jurgens, center out of Nebraska. Dominique Robinson, defensive end out of Miami of Ohio. Myjai Sanders, defensive end out of Cincinnati. Christian Watson, a lot of people really like him, especially among the faithful because he played college football with Trey Lance at North Dakota State, 6'5", with like 4.3 speed. Mike Harley, wide receiver out of Miami. Chase Lucas, cornerback out of Arizona. Trey Webb, defensive back, also out of Middle Tennessee State. And Gene Dellance, offensive tackle, Delance out of Florida. Producer Crew picking me up there because he's a big fan of the Florida Gators. So those are the pre-draft visits that have taken place so far for San Francisco. And what's the common theme here? They're really honing in on a couple of position groups here. Defensive secondary, offensive line, wide receiver, and defensive line. So with that, I want to ask you this. What is the biggest area of need for the 49ers in the draft? Also, some reports just coming out from Aaron Wilson, does a good job covering the NFL, that Malik Turner, wide receiver, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys, visiting with San Francisco. Niners looking to add depth to that wide receiver position as evidenced by the pre-draft visits, but also some of the moves and some of the rumors around San Francisco during NFL free agency and the offseason so far. So, what is the biggest area of need for the 49ers in the 2022 NFL draft? You let me know. And also, make sure you subscribe to the channel because our draft coverage going to continue to be lit right here on the 49ers Report. All right, do some shout outs here. See what the people are saying in the comment section. PK from the Bay, I'll leave the draft up to the Niners. Justin Carter, O-line first, then safety. YouTube saying we need to trade up. I wouldn't rule that out. They have 9 selections, so they have the ammunition to trade up. Adrian saying Drake Jackson. Jake, what position? Mike Clemens, Jonathan Lamont, I would go offensive tackle with 61, maybe a Mike McGlinchey replacement. Cody Morris, that's Montana State it looks like. Oh, it could have been Montana State. Yeah, you're right about that. Niners need a quarterback, Adrian Gutierrez. O.G. Ray, offensive line. Nicole and Harold Gillenwater, offensive line. Safety off the top from King Malibu. OG Ray going safety. Appreciate all of you for keeping that comment section flowing. Here at Chat Sports, yes, we cover the Niners, a lot of other teams across the National Football League, but our main Chat Sports YouTube channel is closing in on 300,000 subscribers, and I hope that we can get there by the time of the NFL draft, or at least during our NFL draft coverage. Now, here at Chat Sports, we cover the NFL draft, the NBA draft, NFL free agency, NFL trade deadline, NBA trade deadline. We really do it all in addition to the latest college football news and rumors. We continue to grow like crazy as a company. But for the NFL draft specifically, we're going to be going live for all 3 days, all 7 rounds, in every single selection of the NFL draft on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. So stay in the know by going to youtube.com/chatsportstv and keep it locked with the most watched NFL draft coverage on YouTube by watching our main Chat Sports YouTube channel NFL draft coverage. Before we get to 5 superstar trade candidates who the Niners can go out and trade for, who is your favorite NFL trade candidate out there? Let me know, and I'll give you a shout-out. I see Jason Michael saying Tyler Linderbaum is one of his favorite NFL draft prospects. I really like him. He's a nasty center who could really be that Alex Mack replacement. The only problem with that, I think he's going to go in the first round of the NFL draft, and he won't be available when the Niners pick at number 61. Junior Toscano, he wants the Niners to target Christian Watson. Niner faithful already getting those questions in for our upcoming mailbag, which we'll do after this upcoming segment. Love to see it. But how about an NFL trade candidate? Let me know. I'll give you a shout out here. Maybe Junior meant Christian Watson because technically if the Niners move up to try to trade for Christian Watson, he would be a trade candidate. Stephon Gilmore, BK from the Bay, he's a free agent. Larry Fort saying O-line and Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu visited with the New Orleans Saints today. Mark going with Saquon Barkley. Nice. BV, Chase. Do you see a scenario the Giants trade their 37th pick for Jimmy Garoppolo to shore up their quarterback position? Really comes down to the availability of Daniel Jones. He said the other day that I will be cleared. So that means that he hasn't been cleared as of yet. DK Metcalf coming in from Born Good. Christian McCaffrey from OG Ray. We've talked about all these players here on the channel, by the way, so that's why you keep it locked, and that's why you subscribe to the channel. All right, up next on the 49ers Report, Producer Coop, you ready to rock? We're going to name 5 superstar trade targets who the Niners can go out and trade for. That's coming your way right now on the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Keep it locked here right here on the channel. Niner Gang, what's good? You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Coming your way on today's show, we're going to take a look at 5 superstar trade candidates who the Niners can go out and make a splash for in this NFL offseason. And all of these players have been mentioned somewhat in NFL rumors discussion. So we start off this list by taking a look at Brandon Cooks. There are reports out there that the Houston Texans are fielding calls for Brandon Cooks, and they want a second-round pick back for Brandon Cooks. And I would like him in this offense. He can play in the slot, he can play outside, and the level of production throughout his career, it's been tremendous. 2014, 53 catches, 550 yards, and 3 touchdowns. 2015 with the New Orleans Saints, 84 catches, 1,100 yards, and 9 touchdowns. 2016, he put up big numbers once again. Then he goes to the New England Patriots, and what do you know? He was really good that year, putting forward great levels of production, 65 catches, 1,000 yards. So already, you see the numbers that he's been able to put forward. 2018, another 1,000-plus yard season. He goes to the Rams as he's really popped around with a couple of teams throughout his NFL career so far. He was pretty good, 42 catches, 583 yards in an injury-shortened season. In 2020 with the Houston Texans, once again, he's able to surpass that 1,000-yard mark and reel in 6 touchdowns. I mean, since coming into the league out of Oklahoma State, Brandon Cooks has been a very, very good player. Now, we get to those reports surfacing about Brandon Cooks. These are the recent developments with Brandon Cooks, and really, this has made some headway this week. The Houston Texans have been receiving calls from a lot of teams in the NFL about the availability for Brandon Cooks. At the NFL trade deadline last year, he had voiced his frustration on social media with him not being sent somewhere else to join a team that is ready to compete for a Super Bowl and the NFL playoffs. And I'm sure at this point of his career and him dealing with some of the concussion issues that he's dealt with throughout his NFL career, he wants to go to a team that's ready to compete in the NFL playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl. As for the asking price, according to reports from some reporters in the know, the Houston Texans want a second-round pick in exchange for one of the most productive wide receivers that we've seen in recent memory in Brandon Cooks. So with that, I segue to this question for the audience, and I want you to treat the comment section like a sports talk radio call-in line. Would you trade the lone Niners second-round pick at 61 for Brandon Cooks? Be John Lynch. I want you to get into the shoes of the 49ers general manager and let me know in the comment section. Type T for trade, type K for keep, sound off, and let me know in the comment section. Next superstar trade candidate, we're talking about A.J. Brown. Now him, like Deebo Samuel, looking to secure the bag, going into the final year of that rookie contract, second round pick, same year as Deebo Samuel, and his production, like Brandon Cooks since coming into the league, really has been tremendous. Now he's a different player than Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks can be used more as a Swiss Army knife, and you can line him up anywhere on the field. And A.J. Brown, more of a physically imposing wide receiver, like a DK Metcalf, like a Terrell Owens back in the day. In 2021, he was really good. 63 grabs, 869 yards, average yards per catch at 14, and 5 touchdowns. There are reports out there that the Tennessee Titans want to lock down A.J. Brown for a contract that will make him one of the highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League. Him and Deebo Samuel, in my opinion, my estimation, they're both going to land close to record-setting contracts. So, If the Niners wanted to trade for A.J. Brown, could they also keep and pay Deebo Samuel? That's a conversation that this front office would have to have, and I'm not sure if you're the Niners, you would want to allocate all of that money to make two of the 5 highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, in A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel. I think you'd have to keep one, so who would you rather keep? That's a conversation that this front office would have to have. But I do want to ask you this question. A.J. Brown, he put up monster numbers at Ole Miss. He comes into the league with the Tennessee Titans, and he's been dominant as a wide receiver for Tennessee. Where do you think he ranks among some of the top wide receivers in the NFL? Fill in the blank for me, and you let me know. Also, make sure you subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel because we'll be going live for all 7 rounds, every single selection, all 3 days of the 2022 NFL Draft on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, which is quickly approaching 300,000 subscribers. We'll be live on YouTube. We'll also be live on Rumble. And if you want exclusive 49ers content, make sure you subscribe and follow us on the Rumble app. Free and uncensored content over there, so I can curse whenever I want to. Also on Rumble, you can find sports, news, politics, tech, and business content. And we continue to grow here at Chat Sports and on the 49ers Report and put our content to the platforms that you as the viewers use. So give us a follow, rumble.com/49ers TV. And if you're watching us during our live show on Tuesday, we'll be going live exclusively on Rumble for a Rumble-only segment after our live show is up. So we talked about 2 wide receivers who the Niners can go out and trade for. How about offensive line? Specifically offensive tackle. Now, Mike McGlinchey is a right tackle, and he's coming off a torn quad. His health status somewhat up in the air. Now, him and Javon Kinlaw have been working out at the practice facility in Santa Clara, but the Niners need help along that offensive line. And Andre Dillard of the Philadelphia Eagles, a former first-round pick out of Washington State, has been unseated by Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson. Currently, he is not a starting tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he has been talked about as being a prime NFL trade candidate ever since really the NFL trade deadline last year. Now, he was able to get some spot starts last year because of injuries to Mailata as well as Lane Johnson. He played 8 games, only gave up 1 sack, hasn't necessarily lived up to the expectations of being that former first-round pick out of Washington State for Philadelphia, but he has a lot of ability, and he's really developed the last couple of years. Early on, it looked as though he was going to be a bust, and he was a little bit weak in between the ears, but with Jeff Stoutland, one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL, he's been able to right the ship, he's been able to develop, he's been able to work on his mental stability and mental toughness, and in turn, he's become a pretty good player. And because of that, he's turned into one of the more premier trade targets in the National Football League. I like the ability of Andre Dillard. Now, at Washington State and with the Philadelphia Eagles, he's played a lot of left tackle. He has voiced his displeasure with playing right tackle, but my message for Andre Dillard, if Mike McGlinchey can't stay healthy, Andre, do you want to get paid 1? Do you want to start games? Because you're not starting games with the Philadelphia Eagles. If that's the case, come to San Francisco. You can be the future protector for Trey Lance. Next superstar trade candidate to get to, Marshon Lattimore of the New Orleans Saints. Now, the New Orleans Saints over the last couple of years have proven that the NFL salary cap is kind of a myth. They had to restructure his contract, which we'll break down here in a few moments, to make room on the roster to make some signings for some other players. But in Marshon Lattimore, we're talking about one of the best defensive players in the NFL and one of the best cornerbacks out there. And in 2021, he was awesome. 55 tackles, 3 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, which is an extraordinary number. Apologies for that mistake there on the graphic. 9 pass breakups. That's really, really excellent levels of production for Marshon Lattimore, and 1 fumble forced. And there have been some trade rumors kind of surrounding Marshon Lattimore for a long time because New Orleans might look to deal him to make room on that salary cap, to make some other additions to that roster. And Marshon Lattimore has been a fantastic player for a long time. Multi-time Pro Bowler, was the Defensive Rookie of the Year back when he was taken out of Ohio State. And he would be awesome on this 49ers defense, especially coupled with the fact that the Niners defensive line is really good. That would allow him to feast in that secondary. Now, he's making a lot of money. Marcus Peters not making as much money as a player like Marshon Lattimore. And that's another player who we want to break down on this list. And we'll do that real quick. But first, let's get to Marshon Lattimore's contract. Now, the Saints able to restructure that, so he only has a base salary in 2022 of $1 million. But the next couple of years, he's being paid as one of the best cornerbacks in the sport. But you pair him up with Charvarius Ward, and the thought of that is pretty tantalizing. 2023, base salary of $14.5 million. 2024, $15 million. 2025, it goes up to 16 even, and then in 2026, final year of his deal, $16.5 million. So you'd have to pay him if you wanted to bring in Marshon Lattimore via trade, but he would make this defense so much better than it already is, and from week 10 on, they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. Last trade target to get to, it's Marcus Peters. He's coming off a torn ACL, so his production in 2021, there wasn't any, right? Because he suffered that torn ACL in an injury-plagued season for the Baltimore Ravens. But in 2020, he was pretty good. And for a long time, he's been known as a gambler. Niners fans know him really well because he played formerly for the Los Angeles Rams before going to the Baltimore Ravens. And of course, you have to deal with some extra baggage because Marcus Peters ain't afraid to let his swagger be known on the football field. And he ain't afraid to let his feelings be known either. But in 2020, 4 picks, 9 pass breakups. So basically even production with Marshon Lattimore this past year. 4 forced fumbles and 1 sack. Primarily, you put him on an island and he'll be able to succeed there. And he does gamble at times, but those gambles sometimes end up working out really well for San Francisco. So the 5 big-name superstar trade targets for San Francisco, on top of the list that we broke down last week, these players, they're involved in NFL trade rumors discussions. Brandon Cooks, A.J. Brown, Andre Dillard, Marshon Lattimore, as well as Marcus Peters. Now, in the comment section, you can name a player that you want the Niners to trade for, including the list that we just talked about and dissected, or another player out there, in addition to the list that we put forward on the channel last week. You let me know in the comment section, and appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us here on the 49ers Report and making today's show part of your day. All right, let's do some shout-outs to the audience. Bay Gibson, McGlinchey has to go. Marshon Lattimore should be our number 1 target from YouTube. Justin Carter. Well, we still have Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, if you freed up that money, it would pave open an opportunity for you to really pay one of these preeminent players. Peters back to the Bay Area from Bay Gibson. I like the thought of that. BK from the Bay going with Andre Dillard. I think he can play, man. I really do. Coming up next, we're going to be doing a mailbag. Make sure you get those questions in. Hashtag 49ers. Better yet, super chat us. And if you super chat us 50 bones, myself, producer Coop, we will do an Irish car bomb. All right? Little Bailey's, little JMO, and a Guinness. You drop that piece in, and you chug that bad boy. C. Roel, we need a big-bodied wide receiver more than anything. Yeah, I agree. That's why we've been talking about N'Keal Harry. That's why we've been talking about players like Devontae Parker here on the Niners Report, because you can get those players for somewhat cheap. Same Saint letting go of Marshon Lattimore from Lil Dude LOL Wow. Merlin, Niners need to go get Marshon. Sign either Tyrann Mathieu or trade for Marcus Peters. Keep Kittle from Matthias. I agree. King of Hearts, Mike McGlinchey. What would it take for us to get DK Metcalf from YouTube? First-round pick and maybe a second-round pick as well. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. DK would be nice. Seahawk players love staying within the division from C. Luscious or Lucius. I think you messaged me about that name too. So apologies if I've gotten it wrong in the past. Do you think we should get very underrated running back Marlon Mack? He just signed with a team, actually. Where did he sign? Houston Texans. It's a pretty good pickup for them. I would have liked him going to San Francisco. 26 years old, dual threat back. Really good player. Now, after we're done live on YouTube, we're going to be going live exclusively on Rumble. Make sure you join us. I'm going to give you 10 thoughts as to why I think Trey Lance is going to break out in 2022 in year 2 for him. Make sure you join us over there after our YouTube show is done. We have our mailbag coming up. Then we're going to be going live exclusively on Rumble. So keep tabs on that, rumble.com/49erstv. Already on the Rumble side of things, we've been able to pick up a couple of new subscribers. We're up to 261 subscribers on Rumble, going live exclusively on Rumble after our YouTube show wraps up right here on the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. But first, we're going to be doing a mailbag. Get those questions in by super chatting us or using the hashtag 49ers. Hanif Razak, you're the man. I see you getting that question in. YouTube getting a question in. Nicole and Harold Gillenwater always getting those questions in. Without further ado, let's get to this mailbag and answer all of your 49ers related questions. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Jay Senior, coming your way on today's show, a 49ers news and rumors mailbag, because we love interacting with the faithful, love interacting with the Niner Empire, and answering all of your 49ers related questions. So without further ado, let's kick off this mailbag with this question coming in from Chu Allure. Should the Niners draft North Dakota State wide receiver Christian Watson? So you didn't list his name, but I believe you're talking about Christian Watson because he's a really good wide receiver who continues to climb up draft boards. And he was looked at early in the draft process as a second or third round guy. There's been some buzz behind Christian Watson, maybe even sneaking into the back end of that first round. Why is that? He's got good size, 6'4", 6'5". At the NFL Combine, he ran a 4.3, low 4.4. He played his college football with Trey Lance, so there's that level of familiarity there. And the way that I read things, with all of the latest NFL draft buzz, I don't think he's going to be available at pick number 61. I think people look at a prospect like that and they're like, okay, he played at North Dakota State, but he can run with that speed. He can also go up and get the football. He can line up outside. He can line up inside and run a variety of routes. So as of right now, my read, I think you might have to trade up to take Christian Watson. And the Niners, they haven't really been aggressive in previous NFL drafts outside of trading up for Trey Lance. I think they stay put at number 61, and I think they miss out on Christian Watson. That's my prediction. Niner faithful with this. Hey, Chase, I don't see Christian Watson falling to us anymore, but I'm predicting we draft Arnold Ipagite at 61 to line up opposite of Nick Bosa, then Marcus Jones or Cole Strange. Next thoughts. So look, like the common theme here is Ipagite, defensive lineman, then maybe offensive line. Marcus Jones might be in that conversation as well. Like a couple of position groups that I think the Niners are really going to hone in on. It's going to be wide receiver in no particular order, by the way. Wide receiver, secondary, offensive line, and defensive line, primarily edge rusher, which is where Arnold really factors in here. So I think those are the position groups that the Niners are really going to hone in on, and I think that's really their focus. I mean, they've been able to address some of that so far in NFL free agency, but I think they're looking to fulfill the rest of their needs throughout the NFL draft. BK from the Bay, do you think they cut Jimmy Garoppolo before camp? Man, I don't know. Like, the read on Jimmy Garoppolo is so difficult to predict, right? Because everybody thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to get dealt. And then he didn't. And then he didn't. And then there was all this quarterback movement. And now Jimmy Garoppolo is still on this damn roster carrying a cap hit of about $26 million. And that's problematic with trying to build out the rest of your team. Now, the good thing for San Francisco, they made it to the Final Four last year. They have premier players on both sides of the football. I think they're well positioned to compete for a Super Bowl and the NFC crown once again. But just imagine, if you let go of Jimmy Garoppolo, if you cut him, if you trade him, that frees up so much money to sign some big-ticket free agents. Now, obviously, that window is passed. So, do you allocate that money for a Deebo Samuel contract extension, as well as a Nick Bosa contract extension? That's more figuring into the future as compared to right now. But I just think the Niners are going to wait to see if Jimmy Garoppolo can prove that he's healthy, to see if he can get healthy coming off that shoulder injury. Then they try to trade him. Last resort, they cut him because they really, really want something back in exchange for Garoppolo. Now, I've talked about the Niners and their current state of the roster and the fact that I think they can compete for the NFC crown and maybe the Super Bowl here in 2022. Do you think the Niners can win the NFC this upcoming season? Give me your all too early predictions, because we love predictions here on the channel because they're fun and we like to have fun here on the channel. Type W for yes, they can win the conference. L for nah, they're going to lose it. They can't compete. You let me know down below. Rah-rah. What did you think about bringing back Adrian Colbert for special teams? I mean, a big focus for San Francisco, and I don't really have thoughts on him, but a big focus for San Francisco is that they have focused in on special teams, whether that be coverage, whether that be returners and bringing in Ray McCloud. They were one of the worst special teams units in the NFL last year, and they had to get better. And that's why they let go of Richard Hightower, formerly the special teams coach who now latched on with the Chicago Bears. They got gashed so many times last year with their special teams units, and that flips the football field, that gives other teams good field position, and it really can change the momentum of a football game. So I like the fact that they've built up their special teams units because they certainly have to be better this upcoming year as compared to last year. A player like George Odom, you sign him, a former All-Pro special teams player who didn't miss a single tackle last year. Like those types of moves on the peripheries of the roster, that's what championship teams have to do. Hanif Razak, one of our loyal subscribers, what are the possibilities that the Niners trade Jimmy Garoppolo at the NFL trade deadline? Maybe that happens, but I think it'd be extremely rare to see a quarterback dealt at the NFL trade deadline because it's so late in the year to try to trade for an impact player. Like the Carolina Panthers, when they signed Cam Newton last year, it came as a big surprise. They were right on the cusp of competing for a playoff spot. They got off to that hot start to start off the 2021 campaign, and Sam Darnold clearly wasn't it. He was also injured, so they signed Cam Newton in hopes that he was going to be able to basically go back to the form of MVP Cam Newton from 2015, and we know how that ended. But to trade for a quarterback that late in the process, it's extremely rare. So I think they'd wait a little bit too long to trade Garoppolo, and I also think that if a team were to trade for Garoppolo at that point, how good are they? And if they trade for Garoppolo, he's on the final year of his contract. So you're getting a starting quarterback for basically half of a season. I don't think that happens. I think they either cut him before that point. Jason Lutz, when are we getting Bosa some legitimate help? I mean, they had it last year, right? With Arden Key, 6.5 sacks. Charles Omenihu, Samson Ebukam, Eric Armstead. Like, those are really good complementary pieces. I'm still a believer that Javon Kinlaw can have a really good year coming off that torn ACL. You bring back Kerry Hyder. You sign Hassan Ridgeway. You have some other good depth pieces on that defensive line. You brought back Jordan Willis. Last year, he had legitimate help because Samson Ebukam had like 4.5 sacks. Arden Key had 6.5 sacks. Like, if you can get that level of production from rotational pass rushers, that's getting help for Nick Bosa, and he had 15.5 sacks just in the regular season and added a bunch in the NFL playoffs. NFL Draft is coming your way April 28th to the 30th, and our coverage here at Chat Sports is going to be absolutely awesome. On the 49ers Report, as we break down NFL Draft rumors, as well as all of the selections that the Niners make, but also on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, we will be going live for all 3 days, all 7 rounds, every single selection. So if you're excited for the NFL Draft, type LFG. And for our NFL Draft coverage, we'll be pushing out videos on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, on the 49ers Report, on YouTube, but also on Rumble. And how about this competition that we have going on within the walls here at Chat Sports between myself, Harrison Graham, who's the host of Chicago Bears Now in the 49ers Report. Right now, Bears are sitting at 420 subs. Now, those of you living in California, you like that 420 number. I like it too, but I also want to catch up to Bears Now in terms of subscribers on Rumble. So we have some work to do. Head to rumble.com/49erstv and subscribe to us on Rumble for more exclusive content that you can't find here on YouTube. Wet Noodle 187, hope you're hanging in there after that car wreck, my man. Is Banks going to be ready to play this year? I'm very worried about our guards more than our tackles. I am too, and I'm worried about this offensive line. I think it's going to be an area of need that they do address at some point in the NFL Draft. I mean, they need to bulk up that offensive line because the depth along the O-line isn't all that good. They need Aaron Banks to pay off. That selection of second-round pick for Aaron Banks, if he doesn't work out, that's very problematic for the Niners this upcoming season because they need him to give the Niners really good play along that offensive line. And if he's a bust, that takes a starting option away, it takes a depth option away, and you waste a second-round pick. So, look, he's going to get opportunities and ample opportunities to play either both guard spots, right guard or left guard, because those are positions that are currently open right now. I'm a believer in the player. I thought it was a weird scheme fit from the get-go. I warmed up to it over time, and then in the preseason, he was getting beat a lot. He was also injured, though, so you have to factor that into the equation. Hopefully he's ready to play. I think he's going to be ready to play. Brian, you could trade Mike and Jimmy for DK Metcalf. Mike McGlinchey you're talking about? Yeah, I mean, the Seattle Seahawks, they certainly have some needs along that offensive line. That's been no secret. That's a big reason why Russell Wilson got very, very frustrated with things in Seattle, because he was one of the most off-hit quarterbacks in the NFL. But Mike McGlinchey and Jimmy Garoppolo, for one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and DK Metcalf, that's not going to move the needle for Seattle. I mean, they're going to want draft capital. They're going to want more impact players in exchange for DK Metcalf, who's a straight-up freak. So I don't think that would get it done for DK Metcalf. But if the Seattle Seahawks said yes to Mike McGlinchey and Jimmy Garoppolo for DK Metcalf, I'm saying yes all 7 days of the week. Make sure you give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I stay tweeting out the latest 49ers news and rumors, clips from the show, and love interacting with the Niner gang, with the faithful, and with the Niner Empire. So you can give me a follow at Chase_Senior. Love interacting with all of the Niner gang. I made it easy for all of you. It's the same handle on both social media platforms. Be sure to hit me up. Nicole and Harold Gillenwater, do you think Dillard would be cheap? And do you want us to resign Jaquiski Tartt? At this point, why not sign Jaquiski Tartt and bring him back to the Bay? I thought he was really good, had the best year of his career in 2021. Everybody wants to focus in on that dropped interception in the NFC Championship game against the Rams. He should have made the play. It could have changed the game. There's no doubt about it, but he's a good player. As for Andre Dillard, look, he hasn't played enough to really demand all that much money. So I think you could be able to get him for a pretty affordable price. You'd have to convince him, though, to go over to right tackle, and really he's only played left tackle, but obviously that position is occupied by the great Trent Williams. Jonathan Lamont, I think they could go with Cameron Thomas, defensive end from San Diego State, to go opposite of Bosa. Your thoughts? Yeah, so we actually talked about Cameron Thomas back, I think, last week on the Niners Report when we did a little mock draft, and he's a good player. He has pretty good size. I would say he's like a Nick Bosa light. He's not like freaky athletic like Nick Bosa or twitchy like Nick Bosa, but he has that size, like 6'4", 275 pounds. Good player for San Diego State this past year. The sack production was pretty solid. If he's available in the second round, I probably wouldn't hate that pick. Little dude, final question in this sack. Only one team left that would trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's the Carolina Panthers. But if Deshaun Watson gets suspended, the Browns could be a sleeper. It's a very good thought. It's a very good take. But the Cleveland Browns did sign Jacoby Brissett. So I think they signed him knowing that, hey, if Deshaun Watson isn't cleared, or if he's on the commissioner's exempt list and he does get suspended, we have a good backup in Jacoby Brissett, who's one, cheaper than Jimmy Garoppolo, and has started a lot of games in the NFL over the last couple of years with a bunch of teams. Indianapolis Colts, as well as the Miami Dolphins. So New England Patriots as well. So I think there could be a scenario in which maybe that makes sense. But yeah, you're looking at the only two quarterback destinations for Jimmy Garoppolo. It's Carolina and it's Seattle. And I kind of cross off Seattle because it's an interdivision team. But that is an interesting thought there, little dude. Appreciate that. Last question here on this mailbag. How many games will the Niners win in 2022? Remember, it's a 17-game schedule. So I think the Niners going to be in that similar trajectory of where they were last year. I'm going to say 9, 10, 11 games, and I think that'll be good enough to get back into the NFL playoffs. And I think this offense is going to be better with Trey Lance. Take a guess, though, and you let me know. All right, let's do some shout-outs here. We're going to be going live exclusively on Rumble here in just a little while. I want to see that audience have an uptick on the Rumble side of things, and I want to see all of you watching us right now on the 49ers Report switch over to Rumble to watch us there. We have 223 people watching live on the 49ers Report. Remember, we did say that if we got a $50 super chat, myself, producer Coop, we do some Irish car bombs. A little bit of Bailey's, a little bit of J-Mo. You drop that into a Guinness, and we chug it. So we'll put a stop clock on for like a minute or two for those super chats to come in here on the 49ers Report on YouTube, because we'll be going live exclusively on Rumble as I'm going to break down 10 reasons for why I think Trey Lance is going to break out in 2022. Matt S., the thought of Jimmy in Seattle is so disgusting. I agree, but if you get good draft compensation back, that's pretty solid. Matt S., appreciate that. YouTube saying Pete Cockle instead of Pete Carroll. Okay. BK from the Bay, 10-7. Johnny Robinson, prediction going in on the Niners season with a 12-5 record. Justin Carter, 9-8. Byron McCants going 11 wins. Mark, 11 wins. YouTube, 17-0. Man, that would be good for the 49ers report and all of the faithful and yours truly. I think we should go get Clowney. Do you, Chase, from Merlin? Him opposite of Nick Bosa. We got that question a little bit earlier about getting Bosa some help. Jadeveon Clowney opposite of Nick Bosa. He'd be great. I mean, he played alongside Myles Garrett this past year, and he had an 8-9 sack season. He'd be really, really good. Johnny Robinson. Lance over Jimmy G. Enough said. I totally agree with you. So, we'll be going live exclusively on Rumble as I break down 10 reasons for why I think Trey Lance is going to break out in 2022. So we're going to shut off the stream here on YouTube, and then we're going to go live exclusively on Rumble. How do you join us? It's very, very simple. Rumble.com/49ers TV. You plug in that link, and then you'll find us on the Rumble side of things. You'll be able to join us for a Rumble exclusive segment on Rumble. Do that right now. Appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us here on YouTube and for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. I want to see all of you on Rumble.